This series is made possible by the generous donation of Stifel Financial and viewers like you. Thank you.
I'm Jim Mathias, and I am the North Division Chief Operations for CAL FIRE in Nevada Yuba Placer Unit, which is a pretty big mouthful. Basically, what that means is that I'm in charge of operationally the CAL FIRE units in Nevada County, Yuba County, Sierra County, and I also manage the Washington Ridge Conservation Camp in Nevada County up above the 5 Mile House. So that's what my job title is. I've been in the fire service since I was 18 years old. I started as a volunteer with the City of Grass Valley Fire Department. I did a lot of the weed abatement inspections, and I did the alarm box maintenance. So those little alarm boxes that you pull, that was my real, if you want to call it my first fire job. That's what I first did in the fire service. I've known for a very long time that I wanted to be a firefighter, and I've known that I wanted to work for CAL FIRE, which was CDF at the time, and pretty much since I was about 8 or 10 years old. I grew up in Nevada County. I was born at Sierra Nevada Hospital, and I've been working, either in fire or EMS in Nevada County since I was 18 years old, so as a volunteer, and then I got a job with the local ambulance company. I still work for the hospital as a paramedic on the ambulance. And I've been a paramedic since my 21st birthday. So as far as I know, I am the longest active paramedic in our local EMS region. I went from my volunteer fire time at the city of Grass Valley to started my paramedic career as a firefighter paramedic with Penn Valley Fire. Worked there for 9 years, and it was kind of a combination between CAL FIRE, or CDF at the time, and Penn Valley Fire. And I knew that I always wanted to be able to have an opportunity with CAL FIRE, so that opportunity didn't appear. And so I moved on to San Mateo County, working for CAL FIRE over there on the coast. Was a member of the USAR team there, and then after 3 years, promoted to a captain paramedic, working in Amateur El Dorado unit. I worked at the Cameron Park Station where they had a paramedic engine and an ambulance, and then worked in training out of the headquarters up in Camino in El Dorado County. And then as soon as CAL FIRE and Placer County Fire opened the fire station next door to the Thunder Valley Casino, I got an opportunity to move back home, which is where I kind of always knew I was going to be, which is in this unit. CAL FIRE has 21 units up and down the state of California. This is the one that I knew I wanted to work in until I retire. And so I worked at that job until I was promoted to battalion chief, worked as a training battalion chief here in this unit out of our Auburn headquarters for about 6 or 7 years, and then moved down to the Thunder Valley Casino, that Battalion 17 Lincoln Battalion. Did that job for another 8 years as a battalion chief, and kind of in a little joking fashion by a lot of my family members, on April 1st of last year was promoted to North Division Chief. So I don't know if that's an April Fool's joke on them or on me, but I'm pretty lucky to have the job that I have and enjoy it, and plan on retiring out of this job, working back home. Grew up in this area, like I said, born at Sierra Nevada Hospital, lived in Nevada County all my life. I'm as active as I can be in my community and still be a firefighter. I help out as much as I can with the Bear River football team, where my son's he's the defensive coordinator for the Bear River Bruins varsity football team now. Go Bruins. And so I'm a big fan of everything that we do local here. I was pretty happy to sit around the first Chiefs meeting when I came back, and as I sat around the table, every single person at that table, the Chiefs in Nevada County, were people that I've been pretty lucky to have grown up with or called my friends, or at least had a working relationship with my entire life. So there's really nothing like the feeling of coming home when you love your job and then you love the people that you work around. So that's a little bit about me. CAL FIRE, the mission statement's pretty simple: serve and safeguard the people of California and protect the property and the resources. So that's what we're supposed to do. Where we do that is wherever we're asked. It's the second largest fire department in the world, and so we have a ton of people that work for us and a ton of different varieties of firefighting capabilities in CAL FIRE. And so what CAL FIRE is tasked with is whatever the Board of Forestry says is a state responsibility area, which is basically watershed throughout the state of California. If it's not an incorporated city and it's watershed deemed by the state of California to be a state responsibility area, then CAL FIRE is in charge of the wildland firefighting protection and management of areas and of those fire protection capabilities in those areas. So that's what we do. That's what CAL FIRE does, and we have a lot of resources to be able to do that. We also have another arm of CAL FIRE, which is our county fire protection, our metropolitan fire protection. So we can be contracted by a special district, fire department, city, county, any kind of other entity that needs some assistance with managing their fire service, and we'll provide the personnel. It's called a Schedule A contract, and it's usually more economical for a lot of the fire departments that don't want to manage their personnel and get into contract negotiations. And it's a two-way street. It helps out both them by being a little bit more economical in some instances, and it's a good trade-off for CAL FIRE because we have a lot deeper pool basically of personnel to pull from when there's a large fire. So we can't always staff all of our positions just on our normal employee list, so we have a deeper gene pool, so to speak, or a bullpen that we can reach out and grab more people and bring them in to help us out when we have a large incident. So even being the second largest fire department in the world, the fires that happen in CAL FIRE or in California are so big that not even our fire department can handle them. No fire department could handle them. They're just too big and there's too many of them, so it's good to be able to work with everybody else. So that's us in a nutshell. If we take Nevada County, for example, there's some areas that are the Tahoe National Forest, and there's the cities of Grass Valley and Nevada City, and it's a very minor, what we call local responsibility area. But outside of those federal protection areas and those two cities in the town of Truckee, it really is pretty much all SRA in Nevada County. Volunteers are terrific. We use them in a few different capacities. So we have what we call a volunteer and prevention program with CAL FIRE. And so those aren't operational folks. As close as they get to operations is they'll staff our lookouts in the summertime, which is a huge resource, as you know. I mean, there's not cell phones don't work every single place when we would like them to, and sometimes people aren't looking in the right direction. Well, our lookouts are watching guard over everybody sometimes when you can't and your cell phone will not work in some remote areas. So they're able to see into some areas, and they're able to provide that overwatch to see when there's a smoke column coming up, and they can help pinpoint that and call that in via radio to our command center, who can dispatch out resources. And they have many different fires. You wouldn't think it in the cell phone era, but they have many different fires that they've called in before anybody could pick up the phone and call 911, because they're there standing on a mountain looking over and making sure that their community's safe. So we use them in that. We use them also in the capacity of staffing things like our fair booth and in prevention activities where we're getting the word out of public education about the fire service, how to be fire safe, how to make your home more safe. So we do that. They come in and help us on large fires, answering the phones, working information centers. There's really almost endless support functions that our volunteers in prevention do. Also, like I talked about in our county contracts, where we have volunteer fire departments, like the Placer County Fire Department is an excellent example. We manage the whole Placer County Fire Department and contract with Placer County in some of the rural areas to provide fire protection. A lot of those communities have a very flourishing volunteer firefighter program. So there's probably, I would say, roughly on the I-80 corridor and down in the valleys of Placer County, managed by CAL FIRE, a very healthy volunteer program of some dedicated folks. And the volunteer firefighter program is not what it used to be. When I first started out as a volunteer, basically they said, come on in, Jim, we're going to issue you some gear. You come to a couple meetings, we see if we like you, and we'll give you those turnouts and you can start coming to calls. It's not that simple anymore. Our volunteers have to go to a 6-month academy where they go one night a week and one full Saturday, and sometimes some Sundays, for 6 months before they're even allowed to respond to an incident. And so they have to meet the minimum training requirements. So it's a very difficult task. It's a big ask for anybody in the community. I think you know how busy your life is. I know how busy my life is. I don't know how those folks do it, but I can tell you that we in the fire service are very grateful that they do. Okay, our lookouts, all of them can see into Nevada County, all the ones that are in the Nevada Placer unit. But we do have 2 that are actually located in Nevada County. So Banner Mountain is one of them. And so if you drive all the way up to the top of Banner Mountain and you have the right view, you can see our lookout folks sitting up in a big tower overwatching, the central part of Nevada County. And right across the way over near the McCourtney landfill is Wolf Mountain, and we have another lookout that kind of overwatches there. If you get up towards the North San Juan area, we have our Oregon Peak lookout, and they overwatch that whole North San Juan and kind of the west end of the county. It is in Yuba County, but they can see down into Nevada County in a lot of our areas. And then we have Mount Howell, which is kind of overwatching the Bear River in the Colfax area, and so they're able to kind of look the I-80 corridor, and they look down into the south part of Nevada County.
Are these staffed 24/7?
No, they're really only up from about 10 o'clock in the morning until somewhere around sunset. And the volunteers kind of set the schedule, but they do it they do a terrific job of making sure that they're up there when there's high fire conditions. I've even heard of them kind of staying up there when there's lightning, which we don't really like very much, but they're very concerned that if we get dry lightning, that a lightning strike might hit the ground and it cause a fire before we could get resources there. So
Yeah, absolutely.
just very dedicated individuals, and we can't thank them enough, I'll tell you. UAV, I believe, is the more correct term than drone, and drone's almost a bad word in CAL FIRE. And that's because you really have to be cognizant of what they're a great resource, and I think you're absolutely right that UAVs are a terrific resource for what they're meant to do. But what they can't do is they can't deliver the agent to retard fire, and they can't be in command and control of fire. The technology isn't there yet for them to be able to do that. So what happens with one of those vehicles when you get them up in the air is it causes too high of a danger for us to fly in the same area. So I've been to several fires where a drone or a UAV was identified, and what it did is it caused our helicopters and fixed wings to have to fly out of the area and land and not be able to work on that fire. And there's laws to guard against that, but as you know, sometimes people don't always follow the law. So they are a great resource. Our partners, Nevada County Consolidated, they have one now, and they're utilizing it, and it's a great resource as long as there isn't any other conflicting airspace. So they're using it for, it's just starting to use it on some of their search and rescue operations where they can fly over a river and identify somebody that's in trouble. They can use it for some of their command and control operations that don't have anything to do with wildland fire, but it's a terrific resource. And mapping, being able to see some of the areas that maybe we can't get in with the vehicle. So it's a terrific resource if used correctly. CAL FIRE does plan on getting some UAVs. I don't know how far into the future that is, but I know that they're definitely working on policies and procedures that make that safe. And when we get the funding to purchase them, I don't believe that's too far away. Then we'll figure out how we're going to utilize them and make sure that we're obeying all the safety rules and parameters and licensing to get those up and running.
Yeah, it is, our airspace is pretty crowded sometimes here.
It sure can be, and I just can't tell you how dangerous it is. I mean, you think about some of the bird strikes that took down an airliner. A UAV or a drone isn't just, feathers and flesh. It's an actual pieces of metal, and those shards going into a propeller of one of our aircraft or into the rotor system of one of our helicopters, it could be devastating. And not only could it injure or kill the pilots, which is bad enough, what happens underneath those planes when they hit the ground unexpectedly. It's just something that we can't risk. That the risk versus gain is off the charts, so we just can't do it. Well, yeah. I mean, getting started in the right direction is always the most difficult step. Committing to something. Anytime you commit to something, that's one of the most difficult steps. In this community, Nevada County is on track once again. We were at one time, and we're on track once again to have more fire-wise communities than any other county in the state of California. That's an impressive statistic. A county our size with our population being able to beat out some of the very large counties and wealthy counties in the state of California. So we're on track to have more fire-wise communities. So I guess what I'm saying is that we can always reach out to our fire-wise coalition. There could even be possibly in your area where you're living a fire-wise community that can help you, educate you about your home and how to make it more safe. It'll give you an opportunity to volunteer and help out. So if you don't know how to get a hold of them, you can certainly get a hold of the Nevada County Fire Safe Council, who kind of oversees and helps to manage that program. So that's a good way to get a lot of one-on-one communications. CAL FIRE also has an app, Ready for Wildfire. And so you can download that, and it takes you through step by step. It's an incredible technology. Some people are intimidated by technology, but this is even easy enough for me to use it. It's a step-by-step, push the screen process. You can do it on your computer or on your smartphone, and you can get involved with that and go through the different steps. And it shows you how to make your home as safe as possible. It shows you how to be ready to evacuate and how to make your home ready and take personal responsibility. And when we start talking about bad fire conditions, it shows you how to get set to go when it's time to go. It talks about making a go bag and the checklist for that, and knowing where you're going to go and have different routes out of your home. And when it's time to go, that it's just flat out time to go. And yeah, we encourage people to use that technology. If they're better at one-on-one or phone conversations, pick up them, call the Fire Safe Council, pick up the phone, call the Fire Safe Council of Nevada County or the FireWise Coalition, and those folks will help you out with getting started, the first step, where to get started and how to get started. There's a lot of community events that are going all the time. We encourage you to come to those because we have booths set up at just about every one of them. Of course, we'll be at the fair this year right inside of Gate 8, and you walk inside and there's our booth set up right there. So that's another neat place to get started as well. But I hope you don't have to wait to the fair to get started. Well, we're doing our WUI drills, and we try to do, that's wildland urban interface drill. So we do that a couple of times a year in Nevada County. We just finished up one off in Lake of the Pines. We're going to do another one here in the North County that's going to involve the area above Nevada City. And so that, I wouldn't say that's a new thing. We've been doing it for several years, but not a lot of people have experienced it. And what that is, it's a very large group of fire and law enforcement getting together, and we spend months in preparation trying to figure out what's the best location and how are we going to do this and what kind of simulated activities we're going to have. But some of the underlying themes, or the reoccurring themes, I should say, that we do is we go out to people's homes, whoever will allow us. We don't just randomly stop by homes. We have people agree way ahead of time that we can use their home, and we go out and we assess it. And we assess the safety of that home for the people getting out, how safe that home is, if it's defensible, if we can get our apparatus in there. And it's a really good training for the firefighters, real world experience, going to somebody else's house in an environment that they may or possibly be fighting fire in the future. Get familiar with some of the roads, see how people have their homes set up, and see how they can use the tools on their fire engine to best defend those homes. So that's one of the things that we do, and then we trick them up a little bit. While they're responding to do that sort of thing, we also throw in like a power line down or a traffic accident. So their head's already set on dealing with a wildland fire, and we say, oh no, not today. Today you're going to deal with a traffic accident. So it's a really neat training opportunity. We also work with our law enforcement partners, and they practice a lot of the evacuation routes, notifying people, keeping statistics, working with our animal rescue folks to make sure that we can get, sometimes it's just as important to get some of the family members that might be furry out of the homes safely, whether that's a cat or a horse or an emu. It doesn't really matter. If it's important to you, it's important to us to get them out. So we work with those folks and our law enforcement partners to make that happen, whether state, federal, or local government fire entities. We're all there trying to do hose lays, which is basically where if you can't drive a fire engine through a field or up a hill, we deliver water from that fire engine up through the mountains to the wrap around the fire and extinguish it. So we train on that. And then some areas are very remote and we can't get our bulldozers in, so we practice on handline construction to contain fires by removing the fuel ahead of the fire. So all those trainings are happening in our wildland urban interface drills, and they happen at least a couple of times a year in Nevada County. Well, we always try to say that if the public will provide the defense, then we'll provide the offense. And what that means in a nutshell is we ask you to make your home as defensible as possible. In CAL FIRE, the whole state of California, one of the largest fire agencies in the world, we have a total of 343 engines in our wildland firefighting fleet. There's way more than that in any community in Nevada County, way more than that in the city of Grass Valley, way more than that in Lake Wildwood, way more than that in Lake of the Pines, way more in Alta Sierra, way more than in Truckee. So even if I brought every single fire engine that I had in our local government cooperators, our federal partners, and the CAL FIRE system, I probably wouldn't have enough fire engines to park at every single home as the fire burned through to make sure every single home was safe. So we ask that the public does everything that they can well in advance of the fire. We're talking months in advance. I'm not talking what you would do 2 to 4 hours before the fire hits you. If the fire is going to hit you in 6 or 8 hours, I would hope you're just in your car and you're driving to someplace safe and go to have a milkshake or something like that. But do something different, go someplace else. But if people can prepare their homes through all these educational processes that we're talking about, get the information on the internet, talk to the Fire Safe Council, talk to the FireWise Coalition, get the CAL FIRE app, go through all those steps, find out and react and make your home as safe as it can be with some personal responsibility. You provide that defense, I guarantee you I will bring everything that we have in CAL FIRE. If any other fire chief was sitting here, state, federal, local government, they would tell you the same thing. If your home is prepared and you do as much as you can to make sure that the roadway leading to your house is safe and that there's defensible space around your home, we're going to do everything we can to save your home. I know there's a lot of important things in everybody's home. There is in my home, and one of the worst things that we have to do in our job is to tell people that they've lost everything. Everything in your home can be replaced for the most part. There's probably some things they're very sentimental to you and very important. The loss of life is just unfathomable. We could never deal with that. We don't like to have that happen, but it certainly does. So the chances of you making your home as safe as possible, that will give you the best opportunity to survive if you don't have enough time to get out, and for us to be able to defend everything that's in your home if a fire burns through your area. I mean, there's so many things to be ready to go. I mean, people always ask me, Jim, where do I go and when should I leave? Well, the answer is as soon as possible. I have no idea which direction the fire is burning from, so I can't tell you which way to head out. I don't know when a tree is going to fall down because of the winds created by the fire. I don't know when a telephone pole is going to burn through and fall across the road and be in your way so you can't get out that way. I don't know a lot of the variables on how to tell you where to leave. I just encourage everybody to, right now, before the fire burns through, go out and drive your country roads. Go on a Sunday drive, visit your neighborhood, go out and see this beautiful area that we live in. It's so beautiful, especially this time of year. Drive around, find 10 or 15 different ways to get out of your property. Talk with your neighbors. If your main road's cut off, do they have a secret emergency road that they try to hold back unless it is a true emergency? find out if there's another way to get out that way. And keep in mind that those access roads you're going to have to know very well. You can't count on your phone to work because cell towers may be down. Your GPS may be too smoky. The visibility is going to be bad. You're going to have to know those other ways out. And so on those days when it starts to get a little bit hotter and a little bit drier, and it's been a little bit hotter and a little bit drier for a long time, all that starts adding up. And when you mix in there a weather front coming through of some kind of a north wind that's a really low humidity, and you hear the weather people talking about things like red flag warning, and you hear them talking about how PG&E may possibly shut your power off. All those things are indicators that you need to be a little bit more prepared to go. Make sure your go bag is ready, make sure you have a place to go, that you know different ways out, that your car is maybe parked outside. Keep in mind if the power goes out, it may be difficult if you have an electric garage door opener to get your garage door open. So maybe it's time to park outside that one night. I don't want to tell you how to safely park your car, but at least know how to get that garage door open and practice it before it's time to do it. And just pay attention. You get up in the morning and it's hot and dry and been hot and dry for a while, and you're feeling a breeze before 10 o'clock, you probably ought to have a plan to be able to get out. I guess I've been trained a long time, so I can feel when it's going to be a red flag day. I pay attention to that. It's kind of my job. But that's actually declared by the National Weather Service, and its parameters between how much wind we're going to have, the heat of the day, the humidity, the anticipated humidity, some of the wind that's blowing through. Nevada County is actually working on a really neat way to indicate and let the public know. Instead of just trying to watch the news every single day where they say today's a red flag warning, today's a red flag warning, or they talk about some of the nuisance articles that you hear on TV and maybe you get tired of hearing that, Nevada County is committed to putting up big red flags that say red flag warning in front of all the fire stations. So Nevada County OES is committed to helping the fire departments purchase all those flags. So in front of most, if not all, of your neighborhood fire stations, we'll have those red flag warning out on the days when there truly is a red flag warning. So we don't decide it, the National Weather Service decides it, and they tell us when to have that red flag up and warning people. I haven't heard it, and you almost have to not be paying attention to not know that it's a red flag warning day. I haven't heard of other government entities, and what we're worried about, what I'm concerned about, I can't speak for everybody, but what I would be concerned about is the story of the little boy who cried wolf. You have to be very diligent when you're warning people. I don't know how many news stories I heard over this last winter that said it was going to be the worst rain in history. And yeah, we got a half an inch of rain or some spotty stuff every once in a while. But they try to be very accurate, but sometimes it isn't. And so what we worry about is that if we don't have control of those red flags, that red flag is going to sit out in a remote location for 5 or 6 days when it doesn't have to be. And we want people to be hyper vigilant. When we tell them it's a red flag warning, we want them to take it very seriously. Keep that fuel ready in the car. Keep the car gassed up. Have your plan ready to go. Load your go bag in your car. Be ready to do everything that we want you to do when you get that notification it's time to go. So red flag warning to us is very serious, and we want to make sure we maintain the validity of that warning. Yeah, so the National Weather Service tries to put that out the day before, and sometimes they forecast for how long that event could last, and they have a pretty good notification system. You can sign up I signed up for the warnings from the National Weather Service you can kind of have an alert set for your area, and they will tell you when there's a red flag alert. So yeah, it's a very reliable system. They do a very good job of telling us ahead of time, and their forecasts, I would say, are very accurate. One of the most devastating fires that we've seen for a lot of different reasons, between structures destroyed and lives lost, was the Camp Fire. And there was a red flag warning up for quite a while. And I got that red flag warning, and it was warning me that in my area, I live in the south part of the county, and my partner, we were going to a meeting over off of I-5 in Corning that day, and we were driving on our way there, and we had this red flag warning, and we were kind of a little disappointed. No, I shouldn't say disappointed. That's the wrong word. We were a little bit cautious that maybe that warning was put out for no reason because there was no wind. And we were driving down the hill down Highway 20 towards I-5, and we got hit by a blast of air, probably 40 to 60 miles an hour, right as soon as we hit Loma Rica Road and Highway 20. So it was almost like it didn't affect us up here in the foothills, but as soon as we hit that valley floor, we were just floored with that wind that came through. So they try to keep it as accurate in the locations as possible, but there's no way you can reliably forecast every topographical feature and every wind. So pretty good system, but it's not perfect.
Right.
One of the concerns that I've had, and I really have always tried to get out to the community, given any platform, and sometimes I don't have the time to do it, is I like to talk about roadways and some of the areas of concern that people will flock to see an incident unfold. And a lot of people are doing it for many different reasons, just out of basic curiosity, and maybe it's to get that really cool picture to put up on social media, or maybe they just happen to be driving through the area and it's something that's entertainment, although I don't really think that they mean it in that way. But I can think of 3 different scenarios that I always try to warn people about, and they all come down to the fire department getting in and the homeowner that's in trouble getting out. Most people that are stopping by the roadway to get a picture or video something, they're not doing it to be evil or bad people. What they're doing is they're trying to get that shot or record something that's really, it's a big deal in their life. And I know and understand why somebody would want to do that. But what happens is a lot of people don't understand what they're dealing with. Many people will drive, in this day of high gas prices, a smaller car, and they're used to driving their smaller car on some of our smaller roadways in Nevada County. And if you pull off on most of the roadways in Nevada County, there isn't very much of a shoulder there. But what there is a limited amount of room for you to pull off. So they'll pull off real quick and they'll look at this devastation unfold, whether it's a flooded roadway or a fire or a car fire or vegetation fire, a house fire, and they think they're out of the way far enough, and they're just watching this unfold and capturing some moments of pictures or video, but they aren't paying attention to their surroundings. The fire engines that we drive are not the same size as the pickup truck that you go to work in or the car that you travel to work in. We're driving very large fire engines that have limited visibility, that we're trying to get there as quickly and safely as possible. But it's really hard with overhanging limbs for us to pick our line, so to speak, in a lot of different areas. And the fire engines are just one of the pieces of the puzzle. We still have a lot of water tenders, which are even bigger. We have our crew buses, which are just as big. We have our dozer transports that sometimes are bigger than all of those things. So if you're trying to get all those entities into an area, it's very difficult. I've seen people parking on the side of the roadway, parking in the roadway, standing in the middle of the roadway, not paying attention with my siren coming up behind them, and they're so focused on getting the shot that sometimes, and once again, they're not meaning to be bad people. They just are focused in on what they're doing and not aware of their surroundings. And we'll come up behind them and they're still standing in the roadway, or they think there's enough room for us to pass. We have to remember we're trying to get in and other people are trying to get out. So some scenarios would be somebody's just driving along and they see this vegetation fire, we'll call it, and they pull over to the side of the road and they're just trying to get some pictures of it. Well, they might be on the only road, think of Pasquale Road and the winding road that is. Maybe they're looking over the canyon to where the fire is. If they pull off the side of the road, there isn't much room for us to get by. It's also not much room for somebody else to get out. So be aware of that. Find if you have to pull over, which we don't want you in the area, just please leave. Get over as far as you can and don't stand on the traffic side of your vehicle to get that shot. Get away from it because it's too dangerous. People are going to be trying to get in there in a hurry, and people are trying to get out in a hurry at the same time. Another scenario would be we're trying to get in on a narrow roadway, and some family is got in their vehicle and they're trying to leave. So as we're trying to pass to get down the roadway, they're trying to come out. And then the third vehicle either trying to enter the area to get the shot or parked on the side of the roadway is one more car that we don't need to deal with. And then as you can imagine, us just trying to get into there with cars lining both sides of the road, I've seen that a multitude of times where we want to use law enforcement, who are great partners, to help us get people and evacuate them out of the area. If their focus is on getting people out of the roadway so we can get in, you're just taking away from the help that people need down towards where the seat of the fire is. I'm glad you asked it because there's a lot of misinformation happening out there. There's people that talk about TRAs or temporary refuge areas. There's people that talk about shelter in place. Really what we encourage you to do is leave. Get out if you can. We talked a little bit about how to, pay attention to red flag warnings, have your car ready to go, have it backed in, so all you have to do is get in and leave early. Don't wait for an evacuation notice. If you smell smoke and you have a bad feeling about it and you know the fire's in your area, obviously September, October, when there's major fires burning, you're going to smell smoke in the air all the time, right? If you see a defined column or actual blowing smoke and it's headed your direction, don't wait for somebody to tell you to leave. Just leave. Certainly if you see fire, it's time to get out. There's just no safe place to be around a fire. We spend years learning how to defend ourselves and be in the right place if a fire burns through the area that we're at, because we're traveling towards the fire all the time. The general public doesn't have that education, and you certainly don't have the thousands of dollars worth of gear that we have. Think about our fire engines and how much engineering went into them for them to be able to perform under fire conditions. It's not like a $30,000, $40,000 car that you can go buy off of the Chevy dealership or wherever. We're talking about engineering things that have gone into fire engines to make them as safe as possible. So we want people to just get out as early as possible. There really is no safe place to be. I think of an excellent example that down in the South County, we have a retired firefighter, fire captain from San Jose Fire Department. And he's a renowned man in the rescue business, and he's very well versed on firefighting. And his wife has a cousin, and they lived in the Santa Rosa area. Kind of a nice neighborhood. They lived at the end of a cul-de-sac. When the fire was burning through Santa Rosa 2 years ago, they thought they should get out, but they wanted to pack up some extra stuff in their home. So they did. They spent a few extra minutes being unprepared. They loaded up their car. They kind of waited for an evacuation message, and then fire was starting to hit their neighborhood, and they didn't think that they could wait any longer. So they left way too late, obviously, by all the things I just said. They drove down to the end of the roadway. There were a few fire engines there engaged in the firefight, and they said, "You can't make it through here. It's unsafe to make it through this area. Turn around and go back." Well, those set of fire engines were not from the area. They didn't know that they were at a dead-end road. They thought that this person could just go back the other direction to another road and leave. I'm sure if they knew it was a dead-end road, they would have ushered them and escorted them out of there, because all those firefighters made it out safely. So they thought they were sending them then a safe direction back the other way. It's a long roadway, dead-end road. They went all the way back to their home. They waited as the fire approached, thinking they could be safe in that home, and they got into the swimming pool in their backyard. And they waited it out in the swimming pool as the fire burned over their home. So after the fire burned over their home and the firefighters got in there to do an assessment on the different homes, they found these two people unresponsive in their swimming pool. Luckily, they weren't dead yet, but this firefighter and his wife waited 2 weeks to hear, thinking that their cousin had died in this fire. Those two people were in a coma for 2 weeks. They had to wake up the husband to even get him to identify himself so that they could know who he was, to tell his family that they were there in the hospital. So is it safe to go back to your home and wait in the swimming pool? Absolutely not. I think of another tragedy and it's It's very difficult to speak about because it was one of our very own firefighters from our Helitac out of Columbia, and her name was Eva Scheike. She was a promising firefighter with a terrific future, a few seasons with CAL FIRE. She was one of our best and brightest, and she was assigned to the Helitac. She was in phenomenal physical condition. She was an elite athlete with her school college basketball team. I believe it was a Division A school, so pretty good, phenomenal physical condition. Great personality. She was fighting a fire downhill towards a river, and as she was, the fire was chasing them back up. They were headed towards a roadway where they could get out. She was separated by another firefighter of less than 20 feet, and a wind of blast of hot air and smoke and superheated gases came up and hit her and killed her instantaneously. With all of her protective gear, all of her physical abilities, and all of her knowledge of firefighting, she didn't survive. And it was an instantaneous hit, and she had all that protective gear and all that knowledge and all that ability, and she wasn't safe. So what we like to tell residents is you have to be prepared to get out early, because even some of our best people couldn't make it out alive. So what makes somebody think that they can stay behind and protect their home and they can live through that? It's almost impossible. Sure, there have been a handful of success stories that people may tell you they saved their homes, but I will tell you that there's a lot more stories of tragedy that happen in Paradise for people that didn't leave their homes for whatever reason, and it wasn't all their fault. Some people were bedridden and couldn't get out, and some people weren't notified, and by the time they were notified, it was too late. But there really isn't a safe place to be, a temporary refuge area or sheltering in place at your home. Those are bad concepts. What we tell people is get in your car, drive as far as you can, know the area, do the best you can. Fire fronts don't hit you 1 mile wide at a time and pass over the top of you. Usually it's a short period, like we talked about with the Eva Scheike. She was less than 20 feet away from another firefighter who was uninjured. So what I'm trying to tell you is that your car is a safe place. Your car's a lot faster. It can protect you from heat for a little while. So you can drive to an area which doesn't have very much fire, watch this fire front pass, and then rapidly drive through the smoke and embers if it's safe to proceed, and go through there a lot better than you can just walking. Many people, you saw all the cars in the campfire that were stuck off the side of the road. Very few people died in their cars in the campfire. Most of the people that died in homes. So get in your car, try to get out of the area. Don't give up. It's like, they tell, it's certainly nothing like a war. I've never been in a war. I've never been in the military. I don't understand that, but it's the only thing that I as a civilian can think of is it's something like that. Don't give up. We tell people when we teach swiftwater classes that some point during this class, you may be in trouble. Well, don't give up. Just keep on trying, and eventually we're going to come get you out of that water environment that you're stuck in or that you're panicked about. So that's what I would tell people in a wildland fire that were trapped, is get in your car, stay in your car as long as possible. Your car is faster than you. It's more reliable than your feet sometimes, and it can protect you from some of the heat. Certainly if you can't get out, if everything else fails, then there's a structure, a home next to you that you can hide in for a little while, then you hide in that home till the fire front passes, and then you get out, get back in your car, and leave if you can. We did that in the campfire with one of the drugstores that was up there. One fire engine, one of our CAL FIRE fire engines from Paradise City and our Washington Ridge hand crew got a bunch of people into a pharmacy, into the building itself, and hid about 150 people in there as the hand crew was up on top of the roof protecting, putting out spot fires on the roof, and the fire engine was working to protect the outside of the structure. They were able to get people out slowly and protect them and hold them there in place. But that's with firefighting resources, there to help them out and be on the outside and watching out for them. So Difficult situation. I wish there was one perfect right answer I could say every time, this is what you do. There isn't. It's the knowledge beforehand, the preparation ahead of time, and what you do with a level head when you get in that emergency.